Okay, it's day probably 6 on this project. It rained for a month, it seemed like, so I didn't get very much done. But what we're doing here is we are installing a flower bed that's raised. Okay, now we've made the outside border here, as you can see. They say not to ever put a raised flower bed against a house, which is a good idea, but I don't like that idea, so I want to go ahead and do it. So here's how I'm going to do it. We're going to take these cinder blocks here. They got those holes in them, as you can see. And what we're going to do is, I've already kind of started digging my trench here. And it's kind of hard to see, but you can see how I've kind of dug it out there. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go 8 inches up on the side of that wall from that concrete over there. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these cinder blocks up against that wall to allow the house to breathe. Okay, and then on the outside of that, I went and bought some shower pan liner. And we're going to put it up against the outside of the cinder blocks to create almost like a dam, so when you water the flower bed, it can't get towards the house. And then as you can see, we got some drain pipe here. And what we're going to do is inside that flower bed, we're going to run a drain, essentially a French drain, with some atrium grates coming up in that flower bed. Now, we're also going to install another row of landscape timbers going from about right here over to there, back that way, and then over to there about. That's going to actually be the raised part of the flower bed, whereas this technically we drew a line from the step over there, and in theory it's even all the way across here, and it kind of gives the image that this railroad tie is coming out of the ground. We used a chainsaw to cut these. Works okay, it dulls really fast. Some landscape timbers are more difficult to cut than others. Some are softer. Excuse me. Anyway, so what we're going to do here, since we are on a grade, it comes down, coming from up there down to here. I'm gonna dig a little trench right in there somewhere and bring it out to daylight, about right in here or so, with either a 3-inch or a 2-inch pipe, and it's be hooked up to the drainage system right there. And I'll probably put some corrugated pipe in here, maybe the white pipe, it just depends. So top flower bed will have drainage, bottom flower bed will have drainage. We don't have a gutter up here on the house right now, so when you walk out the door, you get poured on, and it puts water onto the foundation. So what we're going to do there is I'm going to put a little guttering system, something like that. I don't know, maybe some 1x4s or maybe an actual gutter. I don't know right just yet. I'm going to try to catch that water, and then I'm going to slant it off and have it drop into the flower bed. And I'm going to put maybe a planter or something down here to catch it, run it off into a drain, and then that'll drain out into the yard here. Pretty much the same story on this other side. As you can see, the previous owner put in guttering, and then they put it to a downspout, and then it goes out. Well, we're going to build this up too over here, a little bit darker. Sorry about the sniffles. We're going to put it over here. Okay, so what I've done is I've dug a trench here around the back side. I'm going to do the same thing with the cinder block over here. As you can see, I've got laid out 2 high, about 8 inches tall off that wall. That way that dirt can't set against the wall. Plastic barrier, and then we'll probably put some gravel on the outside of that barrier, so if it drains down to it, it'll kind of have a way to drain this way. Then we're going to put our drainage system in here. We're going to put a pipe over somewhere in here, I think, and run it over to a pipe, a solid pipe at this point, and bring it down. And then in this corner here, what you're going to do, you can see it's filling up with water. Move out of that. What we're going to do is I'm going to take a 5-gallon bucket, put it here, and drill some holes, because we're going to, this right here where the wheelbarrow's setting, it's kind of elevated right now. But we're gonna dig that down and put pavers in there. Okay, so it's gonna be flat. So that's gonna want to hold water is the problem. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a pipe from this corner over here and run a little line in front here to catch that water off the top, and then I'm gonna have it come over across here over to a bucket. So I'm gonna drill some holes in the bucket, and we're gonna have it, essentially what I'm gonna create is a catch basin right here. So this pipe is gonna drop down into a catch basin. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut some expanded metal and put it around the top of an old 5-gallon bucket. It's actually an old bucket that we use for the pool anyway. And then I'm gonna drill holes in the side of it and have that drain into that, and then that goes on out into the yard and dumps out into the ditch way out there. So that's the idea right now. This may be a terrible idea. I'm sure people will say that. That's fine. It's the best solution I've came up with. They also said not to use landscape timbers next to your house because of termites and rot and whatnot. These timbers are a couple years old. I didn't see any bugs in them yet when I was cutting them up, so the creosote pretty much keeps that out of them for the most part. Also, when I install this in here, what we do is we dig a trench first, and then underneath we put landscape fabric, and then we put gravel, a layer of gravel, pack that down, and then put our landscape timbers in, our railroad ties. And then what we do is we drill holes every so often, so a couple holes with an auger bit, and then we take rebar, 1/2-inch rebar, and put it in the ground. And then when you do your second layer, you drill holes about 16 inches through both of them, and then you put rebar and tie the top one to the bottom one. So that's how I did that. So we got a lot to do. We started pretty early today. It's just all sorts of fun. But that's kind of the plan here. We'll see how it works out. And I'll keep shooting some video to keep everyone updated, kind of show you the progress we're getting to. I meant to start this video earlier, but we just couldn't get it done. I kept forgetting. So yeah, and it probably doesn't look that great, but it looks better than when we started, which was just it had a bunch of vine and just junk in there, poison ivy and stuff. It was awful. So we got all rid of that, and then we started this project. So we're gonna see how it turns out, and like I said, I'll keep you updated. All right, laters.